What options do men have for a family, if any, and dating with regards to plate theory? Regardless of what anyone else says, we're a species that craves pair bonding. If we're younger and we go our own way and disregard our own biological impulses, we often end up with psychological damage. And if we give in to our impulses to pair bond, we oftentimes end up with damage as well. Or we become indentured servants and wage slaves to the women that we hook up with. The ideal state for both men and women is that in-between state, between being single and being in a relationship. The place where you're getting intimacy without all the complications that come from being in a full-fledged relationship, living with someone and having a family. That's why we're seeing the rise of hookup culture, because when you're with a new partner, it's often fun and exciting at the beginning. And the only thing more exciting than that is constantly bringing a new partner into your life to keep your love life exciting and interesting. Otherwise, you risk getting bored with the person that you're with. It seems like the millennial generation is being socialized to always be hooking up. They are increasingly going their own way from traditional relationships, dating for pleasure and fun. But not for family and responsibility. Eventually, this sort of behavior will catch up to the greedy state that requires people to constantly pay into child support and alimony to alleviate the government of being on the hook for paying those types of things, including welfare and baby bonuses. For those of you unaware of plate theory, it means dating someone and being in a relationship with a woman until she demands committed monogamy. And at the point she makes this particular demand, simply move on to the next woman. But a lot of men don't know what to do because if they commit, get married and have a family, they often leave themselves very vulnerable. To have a family, men have to think in completely different ways and use the rules to their advantage. She controls the destiny of the child and him if she chooses to exercise that control. And over 50% of the time it happens. But what if a successful man has 2 children through surrogacy, securing that his genes live on, and only then seeks out the companionship of a woman? In such a situation, he is the father and she is the stepmother. The courts will side with him biologically if the relationship ends, especially since he's the biological father. This also protects his assets because the divorce court judges almost always award the parent keeping the children with the matrimonial home and most of the money. And I would call this a true return to traditionalism because a few hundred years ago, if a wife chose to leave in what amounted to a no-fault divorce, she would have to forfeit the children as well as the home to the husband. So by following the steps I just outlined, you would, in essence, have the male rights and privileges given to a husband in North America over 200 years ago. Back then, there were many unhappy women and they didn't leave because they basically would have been destitute. But men were also trapped back then to women and couldn't throw them out without just cause. Society enforced a harsh contract between husbands and wives for the benefit of the children. However, today, the state protects the mother, then the children, and then the husband. But in the scenario I outlined, the man has the right to file a no-fault divorce and seek a new partner at any time. And the situation and steps that I've outlined are far better for a man than they ever would have been in the past. He can leave at any point, take his children home and assets, and she has no recourse. At the same time, all of the power is in his hands instead of hers in a traditional pair bond. But the real question we should be asking is what type of woman would want to marry a man like that, knowing that she would be out of luck and lose everything if he ended up leaving the relationship? I could see a woman doing that. If she already had a child, and the man had a child through surrogacy as well, then the obligations towards the 2 kids would effectively cancel each other out. This is the safest way for a man and a woman to have a family together without risking what the man has worked for as well as what she's worked for. And neither of them would risk wage slavery in the future. This is the most equitable and fair to both the man and the woman. The main hindrance to this strategy is the cost of surrogacy in the first place, as well as finding a woman that's willing to agree to enter a relationship like this. It is important to recognize that every individual has the right to choose their own path in life, and for some men, MGTOW may be a valid choice. In the future, it is likely that men will continue to seek and form a wide range of relationships, including romantic relationships with women, friendships with other men, and other meaningful connections with people of all genders.